Well, welcome to my studio. My name is Terri Sproul. Today I'm going to talk to you about stamps. I'm going to be doing a series of basic stamp questions for Viva Las Vegas Stamps. If you're watching this on YouTube, you would go to Stampo, STAMPO.com to get all of the stamps that I am using in these videos. And we're going to talk about the absolute basics of stamping. And remember, there are no rules in art. So come on down to my workspace and let's start talking. Well, welcome down here to my studio. Today we're going to talk about embossing. Using your stamps and embossing. You can use either a clear embossing powder or you can use a color embossing powder. Like this one I'm using here is red. Now, if you're going to use a clear embossing powder, a color embossing powder, you should use a clear embossing ink, but not necessary. You can use pigment ink. I should have started off telling you right from the get-go that there really are no rules in stamping and in art. So everything I'm telling you, all these rules can be broke. I'm just going to give you the basics. So, first thing I want to show you is with a clear embossing ink and a color embossing powder. If you don't own one of these little trays that has a little hole in the bottom that's specifically made for catching leftovers and that kind of stuff, this would be a great investment. But you can use just a piece of paper if you're on a budget. So, first thing I'm going to do is take just a plain piece of white cardstock and this heart steampunk stamp. And this is actually from Viva Las Vegas Stamps. And that's at Stampo.com. And I'm just inking up my stamp. As you noticed, I put my ink pad top upside down, so when I'm done with it I can just pop it back on there. Then I'm going to stamp my image. Now you're not going to see it because, like I said, I use clear embossing powder, even though you can see a little bit because I have some ink on there from before. I should have cleaned it, but oh well. Pour on your embossing powder like that. Tap off the excess. That's why you want to have one of these little trays, because watch how wonderful this is. The little tray, put it right back into the bottle. No waste at all. So all that went right back into the bottle, and there's no waste at all. So I'm going to put that off to the side. Now I need to heat this. So I'm going to take my embossing gun, and I'm going to start heating it. And what this does is it melts the embossing powder for you. And it goes pretty quickly. You can actually see it change, so actually watch it and watch it change. And it's done in a matter of seconds. So there we go, that one's all done. Isn't that pretty? I love that look. Now, I want to show you using a clear embossing ink and a pigment embossing pad. A pigment ink pad. You can use, this is the best stuff for using embossing as a pigment ink because it stays wet longer. But like I said earlier, there really are no rules. And sometimes if you use a dye ink or a chalk ink, sometimes you can get more of a distressed look. So play with this technique and see what you come up with. So again, I'm going to use this really pretty purple. I love this color. And I'm going to ink up my pad. Again, my ink pad at the top lid is upside down, so I'm going to put that back on there. I'm going to stamp my image again. Okay, got my good stamp there. Now this time, as you see, I stamped in purple, and I'm going to use clear embossing ink. Pour it on there again. Tap off the excess. Put the excess back into your little jar, because there's no waste in this world, especially if you're on a budget like me. Put that off to the side. Again, you're going to heat this until it dries. or not dries, actually melts, I should say, I'm sorry. And you get just a little bit of a sheen on it. Now here's another really good hint. Say you don't necessarily want a sheen. Maybe you want more of a distressed look. You can take your sanding block and just sand it down just a tad. I'm going to do it on both of those. And what that kind of does is take that high gloss off there and gives you more of a distressed look. So I hope that takes all the intimidation of embossing away for you and gives you these great impressions. Now that you can, at this point, you could cut these out and use them, or I almost got a card made right there. Thanks for stopping down here at my studio. Well, thanks for joining me down here at my workstation. And we're going to talk about the different types of stamps that you can buy. Now, as I mentioned earlier, all the stamps that you will see are from Viva Las Vegas Stamps, and that's at Stampo.com. There's a couple different types of stamps that you can purchase. You can purchase a wood stamp, and that comes on a wood block. It is cushioned, and the rubber is there. And you would just need to ink it and stamp it. What's great about this is it's super easy. Like I said, ink and go. The disadvantage is it's got a lot of bulk to it, so you end up with a lot of need a lot of room to store. The next kind of stamp you can purchase is one that they call cushioned, and this one is the rubber and the cushion only, and there's no wood. What you would need to do with this is to have a acrylic block at home, and you just literally stick it to the acrylic block, ink it up, and stamp. The advantage is there's very little to this compared to a wood stamp, and it's super easy just to cling it down. To store these, you can get these sheets. They're plastic sheets, and it just adheres right down to it. So that's super easy. The other thing you can purchase is what they call rubber only. Now this comes with no cushion, no wood block, just the rubber. The advantage of this is these are really cheap to purchase, so you could have a whole lot for what you would purchase in a wood block, because wood blocks are the most expensive. How I deal with these is I use my Miracle Tape, which you can also purchase here at the Viva Las Vegas Stamps website at Stampo.com. I put a little piece on my acrylic block, and then that holds down my stamp, my rubber only. And you can ink it up and stamp with it. Couple little tricks I want to show you that really helps me out is I always mark the back of my rubber with the company that I bought it from, and that's the abbreviations for Viva Las Vegas Stamps. And I also make sure that when I write it so that the image is up. So when I am stamping, when I have it on my rubber, I know that that is up when I go to stamp, so I get a perfect stamp every time. Now, a couple little hints that I want to give you that might help you along, that's helped me, is I keep a book of all of my rubber stamps, especially ones that are just rubber, because these you can't see as well as this. You don't always know what the image is. So I stamp all of them right into a little book here that I keep all of my stamps in. The other advantage that I want to tell you about just getting rubber stamps with nothing else on them is you can ink them up and actually place them on, say, a rounded object that's hard to stamp on, because they are rubber and you can actually take it across and it'll mold to the shape of whatever you are stamping on. Where if you're using a wood block stamp, that's almost impossible to get that image because it won't mold to the shape of, say, this piece of glass that I'm showing you here. So that's another big advantage about getting the pure just rubber, and that's why I get a lot of just rubber. Plus, I don't have any more room left in my studio. So I hope that helps you out to make some decisions on getting the different types of stamps and what to decide. Also, while you're there, they do have these handles that you can purchase also for your acrylic blocks, and they will just adhere to your to the acrylic block, and it helps you stamp. So, hope that helped you out. Thanks for stopping by.